Hey everybody, Alex Kozora, SteelersDepot.com, back to do another analysis of the Steelers' 17-12 Week 10 victory over the Los Angeles Rams. Steelers go to 5-4 on the year, a statement I don't think anybody, perhaps even Mike Tomlin and company, thought we'd be saying and remarking at this point in the season when this was a 1-4 team on the road, West Coast, with Devlin Hodges as a quarterback. Come a long way, hasn't this team, but it goes back to really the hallmarks we've talked about this team the entire year, really, more specifically the stretch of this win streak, this 4-game win streak, where it's been, defensively dominated and the offense just kind of along for the ride, trying to do just enough to win the game. But it's been the defense the whole way through this entire stretch, and Sunday against the Rams was no exception. 4 more takeaways, up to 26 on the year. They're just playing at a level we have not seen from this defense since at least 2010, maybe even earlier than that. The Super Bowl winning team against the Cardinals, maybe the Super Bowl 40 team, or some of those mid-2000 teams. It's been a long time, though, since you've seen a defense this dominant, and I think it's safe to say and make that statement after the Colts. Now, granted, the Colts lose Jacoby Brissett, but now against a Rams team that's, offensively potent and had a quote-unquote franchise quarterback in Jared Goff, granted one that struggled, throughout points in this season, but just looked overall really bad on Sunday. So, again, it's the same players we were talking about, the pass rush of TJ Watt, Bud Dupree, Javon Hargrave, Cam Hayward. The cornerback play was excellent. Joe Hayden was awesome. I think one of his best games ever as a Steeler, right up there with Week 15 against the Patriots last year. Minka Fitzpatrick, what more can you say about him? Opportunistic, the ball awareness. Yes, it's a little bit of luck with the fumble, and he's the first guy there, and Hayden making the great play at the end for Minka to pick it and seal it. But you create your own luck by being in the right place, reading your keys, and it's just been a defensively awesome performance. I can't talk enough about how well they shut down Cooper Kupp. He had over 200 yards the week before against the Cincinnati Bengals, and he gets just literally shut out. 0 catches, 0 yards, 0 touchdowns. Even Mike Tomlin seemed surprised by it when he was told that stat specifically in his post-game press conference. So taking away their best options. Todd Gurley had a couple nice runs, but nothing that killed you. And the third down defense was as dominant, literally, as it's ever been, really, for Pittsburgh. 1 of 14, the Rams were on third down. I think they were 0 for 2 on fourth down, including the fake punt that the Steelers stopped. So, I mean, I have the stat on the stats of the weird article. That hasn't happened, a 1 in 14 performance the Steelers defense has created since 1994. And that was the only time, as far back as the stats go, which is 92, the Steelers have had that kind of performance. 1 of 14 on third down. So just, those are the hallmarks of the game. One where the offense struggled, and yeah, it felt like this team could lose the game, and you just said to yourself, I know I said to myself, at least, how many stops can you count on this defense to make? And they answered the call every single time, and it's just remarkable. And again, it's unexpected in the sense of, you haven't seen this defense in a while, but when you invest everything you do into this group, whether that's 8 straight defensive draft picks or 7, whatever the number is, Jarvis Jones on, they've all been defensive first-round picks, whether that means trading up for Devin Bush or signing Joe Hayden, signing Steven Nelson, trading a first for next year for Minka Fitzpatrick, or a deal that just looks like robbery right now for Kevin Colbert and company. You would expect this defense to come together because you just are littered with high pedigree, high talent, and a lot of youth and speed on this defense. So it's awesome to see. It's a lot of fun to watch. It's certainly a change of pace, but it's also, I think, in a sense, expected. You would expect to have a dominant defense given all that you've invested into this group. So just can't say enough about the job that they did. 4 sacks. They're on pace for 58 sacks this year, for like 46 takeaways, which the closer we get to the end of the season, the more I think, man, they actually might hit 40 at least. I mean, it's just some absurd numbers in today's NFL that's so offensive oriented and dominant in all the rules and schemes and everything that's always in favor of the offense, the way they call games, generally speaking. And the Steelers have one of the league's most dominant defenses. So just awesome job across. But even someone like Mark Barrett had a decent game today. Not a great game by any means, but had at least one nice run, fit, and tackle. So I just can't say enough about Steven Nelson, Joe Hayden. I mean, I think Hayden had an excellent game today. Really, really one of his better performances in a long time. So give a lot of credit for Hayden. And then Minka obviously just continues to make big plays. So what more can you say about the defense other than they are an elite group, a dominant group, and oh boy, it's a lot of fun to watch. Offensively, wish I could say the same. Just same old thing. The offense gets off to so many poor starts. I think the last 3 weeks they've turned the ball over on their first drive. They haven't had a first possession of the game that hasn't resulted in a 3-and-out punt or a turnover since week 3 against the 49ers, and that was a 3-and-out that resulted in a field goal because of the 49ers early turnovers. So it's been a mess early, and unfortunately it hasn't gotten a whole lot better as the game's gone on. No run game again. That's part on the line, part on the backs. Obviously injuries are playing a factor. You recognize that, but no, you got to get better than 1.6 yards per carry. Receivers really hurting themselves. I thought Mason Rudolph played well, and that's the weird thing. This offense struggled like it has against, say, Miami early in that game. Your quarterback's not playing well. You get it, because it's the quarterback not playing well. How can your offense as a whole not play well? But Rudolph, I thought, played a really strong game. He was decisive. He pushed the ball downfield. He was accurate. His pocket presence was decent. And it was just everybody hurting him. There were 4 or 5 drops in the game, whether they're talking Juju early. Vance had one on third down that could have put the team in field goal range in the second half. Who else am I thinking of? Vanette had one that was waved off by penalty early in the game. Deontay Johnson had one. Washington had the fumble. I think I'm missing one. And then Jalen Samuels on a third down had a drop that could have moved the sticks. And then again, James Washington, after that big catch and run, fumbles it. Deontay Johnson muffs a punt return. I mean, the list goes on and on. There was too many penalties that got behind the sticks. Just so much sloppy offensive play. So much Steelers beating Steelers. And no, Randy Fichtner did not call a good game. But if you make those plays and Fichtner calls the same exact plays, you're putting up 24, 27 points in that game. You robbed yourself of so many opportunities independent of whatever the play call was. Play calls that worked and plays that weren't made by the plays. But Fichtner obviously didn't do, I think, the team really any favors. A lot of second and long runs to put yourself in third and long. He ran a tight end draw to Vance for some reason. I don't know what that's all about. And then the worst play call was the play action that led to the safety. You want to take a shot deep, you want to pass it in that situation, fine, I get that. The run game had struggled, you want to try to create a big play, but don't run play action against the Rams front when Mason Rudolph, a young quarterback, taking his eyes off the field and having to try to adjust. And yes, I think the Castro got beat pretty bad by Donald on that play, but if you're doing a straight, drop back pass, Rudolph can see that, he can evade it, he can throw it away, he can scramble, he can do something. He just had no chance. The second he turns around, Donald's there, and Rudolph's a sitting duck. So play action on the goal line with a quarterback like that, that's just a terrible decision. That's not putting your players in position to succeed, and that's the definition of good coaching, or just coaching in general for me. Do you put your players in position to succeed? And Fichtner, in that moment, and too many times this season, has not. But overall, I thought there were so many missed opportunities and miscues by the players themselves that could have resulted in big, important plays that just simply weren't made. And until that gets cleaned up, this offense is going to continue to spin its wheels and not going to get any better, and it has to get better. They were poor on third down as well. I think they were 5 of 16, I believe. So while they weren't as bad as the Rams, they weren't good either. They did finish it in the red zone. I think they were 1-1 or 1-2. So that was at least that, but has to get better. So the offense, it's just really the same story as the last couple weeks, where the defense is really just dragging the Steelers across the finish line at the end of these games, and just if they weren't as dominant as they were, this team wouldn't be on the win streak it is right now. Conversely, if the offense was even, say, average, this is a below average offense obviously right now, this was like average offense, they would be winning these games a lot more convincingly than they have the last 2 weeks, especially the last 2. So you just hope for that spark where everything comes together. Schedule might lighten up a little bit. I don't want to presume anything. A young team on a short week on the road, I believe, at Cleveland. Granted, not a far drive, but still on the road against the Browns team going off a victory. I don't want to assume anything, but you just hope that light turns on. We'll have to look at the tape. Hopefully get James Conner back, get a little bit healthier, but a lot of missed chances. You see the talent. You see the talent from James Washington, who had that great red zone goal line catch. Great job there to get his feet in bounds. You see Deontay Johnson making plays and being shifty and converting on third down. And some moments he had, I think it was a mesh concept where he made the cornerback miss and move the sticks. But you got to be consistent. You got to have good ball security. This offense has not shown good enough ball security, not shown good enough fundamentals overall, and that's partly because you have a lot of young guys. Washington second year, Deontay Johnson first year. Mason Rudolph's had his struggles, not particularly today, but obviously overall for the season. First year guy. Some of the running backs, Edmonds, young guy, not a lot of NFL play time. Jalen Samuels, a second year guy. So you understand that, but of course it's still not acceptable for this offense to be so unfundamental as it's been over the course of the season, but even during this win streak. Special teams almost made it without a flub, but I want to talk about them, and I'm flubbing because I'm excited about special teams. Jordan Berry, I thought, had a good game. First punt of the game, 58-yard net. I thought he did well. There might have even been a hold that he had on a field goal that there was a bad snap. Someone said that. I didn't get to see it myself, so I'll have to go back and check. Boz was Boz. And then, of course, the big thing was the special teams fakes. Rams tried it twice. The first one, Steelers checked. They responded well. Rams took a delay game penalty and punted it away. And then they tried to run the fake in the mid-third quarter, and Trey Edmonds somehow gets a interception, the first running back to pick off a pass in NFL history, and in the NFL in the last 31 years, happened back in '88 according to Pro Football Reference. So great response, great job to be ready for the fake, and that's being prepared. And you knew this Rams team was one that would be tricky. You figure coming out of a bye where they've maybe not playing their best football, and a team that just runs a lot of fakes in general. They've run 8 of them, now 9 of them, since 2017, since Sean McVay became the head coach of the Rams. So you kind of knew that you had to be careful of that, be aware of that, and the Steelers did a great job responding in that moment. Return game, obviously still poor. They're trying different guys. You got Brooks James back there for some kicks. You got Deontay Johnson back there for some punts. Switzer back there. Still a mess. Just that's not been good enough, but being able to respond to that punt fake on 4th down was a great situational football by Danny Smith and the players to go out there and execute it. So, 5-14. If the season ended today, Steelers would be the 6th seed. They'd be in the playoffs. Just wild. Still a long ways to go. Obviously, one or two, bad games, a bad stretch could reverse all this, comeback story this Steelers team has right now. So you got Cleveland on a short week. You never want to overlook them. They played decent today. They beat a good Buffalo team, and AFC North football is always going to be tight. So I'll kind of wrap this video up. I know I've been going on long, but just happy to get the win and just appreciate watching a dominant Pittsburgh Steelers defense. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below, whether you're listening on YouTube, follow me on Twitter at Alex_Kozora, or following the website SteelersDepot.com. Thank you guys so much for listening, and we'll talk to you soon.